although there's a noon service every Sunday, I see a lot of new faces, so I'll mention. The first Sunday of the month is a special type of meditative movement in which we come together for a ritual of spiritual healing. Now, what does spiritual healing mean? Why didn't I just say healing? I think there are a number of overtones or implications to the term spiritual healing. The idea in yoga, the awareness of the saints and sages, the wise men and women of all civilizations, all religious philosophies, and all cultures, is that there is an indwelling reality. There is an indwelling Lord in each sentient being. Not just in the people that believe like we believe, not just in men and women, in all sentient life. And that what the movement of life is about more than anything else is a direct communion with this indwelling Lord, as in the English Lord of the Manor. This state of awareness that has priority, that has wisdom, that has balance. It dwells in a place called heaven, and as the saints and sages east and west have all pointed out, heaven does lie within. In this communion process, and yogis, incidentally, are not so concerned with the name and the form that we give to that divinity and that reality, because different people with different temperaments and different cultural backgrounds will give it different names and different forms. They're concerned with making the communion face to face, lip to lip, as the good book says. In this communion, in this cosmic consciousness, in this unitive experience with life, the equation is balanced. The desires the needs, the lacks are fulfilled, they are neutralized. And the state of mind, mythical to some, actual to others at this point, called happiness, ensues and restores truly the good life in the deepest philosophical and mystical sense of the word good. What is the relevance of this particular movement in a meditation on healing? The relevance is that in this direct and in this face-to-face, internal and transcendental, not ephemeral, not cultural, not subjective, but objective, internal, eternal communion that takes place, that which is out of balance is brought into balance in the most harmonious, natural, possible way. That which is in a state of dis-ease or imbalance is rectified, is healed. And therefore, if I look at my physical body in this particular day, I say, well, he's using to lose a few pounds, but basically it feels pretty healthy. So what do I care about a meditation on healing, right? Wrong. You've heard of preventive maintenance in the care of your temporal gasoline sheath of your automobile. It's much more important and much more vital in the care and feeding of this psychology and this biology, which we are functioning through as happy earthlings here on the path. It's most essential. If the mystical insight is that creation and all patterns of creation precipitate down from super subtle to gross. And ultimately, a piece of karma pops up, and most of us are surprised or disoriented or threatened by some of the patterns that come into our life. Life seems to be discontinuous and chaotic for some people, or for some of us at some times in our life. It's not, according to the mystics, according to the yogis, according to the sages of all the world's traditions and philosophies. It's very orderly, it's very lawful, it's very patterned. What we have to do in order to perceive this, first of all, is to get off the surface of our minds. In simplest terms, to find a moment of the day which is unhassled, unpressured, which is not distracted or chaotic, and to do what we need to do. Shut off the furnace momentarily in order to make it quiet and peaceful. Why? So that we can pull in, balance, and then lift beyond our ego selves. You know, they say the Lord dwells within. As I was mentioning, they say that divinity lies within. This does not mean, contrary to some of the books that are read, according to the yogic doctrine, this does not mean that I am God in any sense of the word in terms of personality or ego patterning or that you are or anything else. It's true, God dwells within me and within you and within all beings. But it's a high state of awareness, far above the margin chakra level, the belly button level of needs and greeds, where most of us spend most of our happy time. So it is not only an interning, but just as importantly, if not more importantly, an uplifting, a movement beyond our personalities, beyond our social roles, beyond, as I say, the needs and the greeds of the body and the mind. If we can get to that point, even into the ballpark, if you'll permit me, now not only can we see the patterns of creation as they're manifesting, the snowflakes as they're crystallizing through the atmosphere, we can put in our 2 cents. We can now become full-grown in the spiritual sense of the word, become what the Jewish mystics of old called co-creators with God. And what we can begin to do is to sound a mantra within us of healing on each and every level and each and every possible implication of that mantra, of that state of awareness, of that feeling carrier, that feeling transmitter, to heal the mind, to heal the body, to send peace, as Swamiji led us in the earlier Shanti ritual, to send peace to all the beings, external and internal, if you'll permit me, to all the states of awareness, seemingly external or seemingly internal. With this, the balance comes about. As I say, it makes life worth living. It makes life digestible. So the first thing that we must do is prepare a place, is to prepare a state of, to prepare the temple so that God would feel comfortable, so that a balanced state of awareness would feel comfortable dwelling within such. And this doesn't have a lot of the, in the yogic framework, it doesn't have a lot of the moralistic overtones that you often find in some of the Western philosophies. It does have a lawful causational type of overtone. There's a psychological overtone. In this movement towards healing, this movement towards spiritual growth, the yogi says that if you live a certain way, wisely, in a word, wisely, the middle path, the golden mean, that again is extolled in all philosophies, if this lifestyle is the one that is adopted and the one that's patterned in terms of thoughts, words, and physical activities, now the mind's going to settle down. Now the emotions are going to settle down. Now the deeper interning becomes a realistic possibility. And therefore we talk about if there's one thing that you should not do, or I should not do, it's to become violent. And it's, oh, you mean you shouldn't go around hitting people in the mouth? Okay, I don't do that. That's a good start. Shouldn't do that, it's true. More to the point, to control the tongue, which is the sword that does the real, cuts much deeper than, you get your body hurt and you get a few stitches and you're all healed up in a couple of days or weeks or months. But the damage that can be inflicted with the verbalization pattern sometimes doesn't heal for lifetimes. So to begin to control the tongue. As it was written by some happy yogi in a cave in India, they found it a while ago. He says, "Lord, make my words sweet and honeyed, for tomorrow I may have to eat them." Very important to remember, especially when we have a week like I had last week. And boy, in your ego, you're right. You know that person deserves to be told that they're terrible, and you don't say it. And you have a deeper realization. You say, oh my God, am I glad I didn't make a fool of myself by saying what I thought was the truth. And you begin, without being a doormat, without being abused, you begin to walk that middle path where people say, yeah, I don't know what it is. He's a little bit funny, but I kind of like to be around that guy or that woman or whatever. You begin to radiate some of this healing vibration. You begin to become sane. And in an insane world, that's a very valuable commodity indeed. And then ultimately, of course, the thoughts, all things are thrice compounded. This Trinity factor turns up again and again and again. The Christian Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Hindu Trinity of Lords Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the three mother letters of the Hebrew tradition, and so on and so forth. The the three pillars of Zen. It turns up again and again. On the level that we're talking, the Kriya or the action that we're talking about, there are three levels of Kriya that are physical, verbal, and mental. Three levels of action that need to be balanced. As I say, there is something not to be done. What is not to be done is to be violent. Why? Not because the spiritual path is satisfied with being a good Boy Scout. That's good. The world needs more of them. But that's not the end goal of the path. But if we balance our lives in terms of some of these extreme patterns or harsh patterns, the mind energies will no longer be scattered. You'll start to feel a little more at home with yourself. You can't get a date on a Friday night. You don't go kill yourself like some people do. You say, oh, I'll get to think. Maybe I'll have an insight about life. And you enjoy being by yourself. You start to lead a quieter lifestyle that has a little less hassle, and a little more meaning to it, a little more depth, a little more nutrition for the deeper levels of our being. If there's one thing not to do, it's to be violent. If there's one thing that should be done, it would be to attain a state called santosha. Santosha meaning contentment. So there's a series of 5 don'ts and 5 do's in yoga, which will help us, which will help you and me if we begin to live in a way that is nonviolent and is content, to oversimplify it, but to give you the spirit of it. It will allow us to lead a quieter lifestyle, to gather the mind forces, to begin this inturning and this uplifting process that does bring about, the mills of the gods turn slowly, do they not? But in time will bring about the healing of the marriage or the job or the mind or the body, whatever it is that may be out of balance at this particular time in your evolution. I mean, as I mentioned before, there is a preventive maintenance aspect to this too. Maybe you don't have a problem today. Maybe you will tomorrow. And you can balance it out today, at least to a significant extent, to soften the karma is the way that we'd say it. Now, yoga is very much a philosophy that says, and this is a little dangerous sometimes if it's misunderstood. It's very much a philosophy of self-responsibility and self-sufficiency. So it says, really, if something good happens to me, it's really because I did it. I created it, consciously or more usually unconsciously. Perhaps today, perhaps yesterday, perhaps last lifetime. They say that this life is but one page in the book of our immortality. Now, I personally couldn't care less whether or not you believe that. That's your business. It's not my business what you believe. I was overhearing out in the juice bar, eavesdropping on a conversation while I drank my coconut juice between Kriyananda and someone who was new to the temple. And they said, sir, is it true that you believe in reincarnation? He says, no. Then our ears really pricked up. And then the punchline, he says, I know that it's true, because I remember. That's a pretty good answer. Independent of whether you believe in reincarnation, the techniques, the movement, the philosophy of yoga and of all mysticism will be helpful to you, even if you believe that you were created when your parents made love and that you'll die when your body dies. It'll still work in a one-lifetime pattern also, so don't be hassled. Don't be overly concerned by, it's not a belief system, it's a technique system. That's what I'm really trying to say to you. Now, this self-responsibility business, the way that it's expressed philosophically is by the Vedic watchwords, aham brahmasmi. It means I am the creative principle. And only I can say it for me, if that's the way the grammar works, and you must say it for you. Aham brahmasmi, I am the creative principle. It reveals a great deal, if you reflect on it in your quiet hours, about the way that creation, sustainment, and redissolvement takes place in life. It reveals that the law of karma, which is simply the scientific law of causation applied in the subtlest possible way, I suppose, is a law of blessing, not a punishment. According to yoga, there is no law of retribution. There is a law of causation, which is entirely different in its implications. If you sit on a hot stove, you get your rear end burnt, But the flame's not mad at you, God's not mad at you, the stove's not mad at you. None of that. You were just dumb enough to sit on a hot stove. If you kick your spouse, you're going to get your rear end burned. It doesn't mean that God's mad at you. It means that there's a message, that there's a part of us that really wants to grow and really wants to unfold. And therefore we've moved into this wonderful dream of God, this universe of God, where the law of karma, the law of causation is operational and is functional. And therefore we get feedback. I worked at a place where, many years ago, where the owner's daughter was one of the workers. And she had a pretty easy time at work, bless her heart. And she, apparently something in her decided that she wanted to grow spiritually, because what she did at one point was she left the job and took another job. And I called her up and I said, "Hi, how's it going?" And she says, "Oh my God, not too good." And I thought it was interesting, because what had happened was, as you undoubtedly realized, is that she was in the protected environment of being the boss's daughter, symbolically, and in this case actually, and nobody could give her feedback. You know, she could be as bitchy as she wanted to be, and everybody would say, "Oh, nice person," because they didn't want to get fired. And then she moved out. Like I say, apparently she decided she'd rather grow than be comfortable. You don't always have to make that distinction, but at times you do, unfortunately. And she moved out into an environment where she would get some very direct feedback. Shut up. She's growing, but she's growing through ouches, unfortunately. We do, in this universe, get feedback. Depending on our attitude, you know, yoga, although historically it's an offshoot of Hinduism, in spirit it's far closer to Buddhism, which is an in-depth psychology. It's an approach that says it's possible for you to be sane, it's possible for you to be happy here and now, independent of if your love life and your financial life and your education life and things like that aren't exactly where you'd like them to be. You can still be happy and content and move forward towards whatever your dreams are, however insignificant or however profound the particular imbalance may appear to be to somebody else. That's their perception, and we each of us have to work from where we're at. You can have your dream. It's, if I can be theological with you for a moment, according to yoga, God wants you to have your dream. And the reason that it's a self-help philosophy and a self-responsibility philosophy is not because of a denial of the importance of God, of the importance of the reality. And sometimes, unfortunately, people take a very profound philosophy and they spend 30 seconds looking at it and they say, "Oh, gee, this is egotistical." They say that you can do it for yourself. And a little more in-depth look at the yoga philosophy says, no. They say God's already done his part, or her part, if that makes you more comfortable. That life has released all the pranas necessary for every dream that you can conceive of to be fulfilled. The problem is that we've somehow, which is a whole different lecture, locked ourselves away in a dungeon that's a little dark and a little damp and sometimes not real comfortable. And what we got to do, what this yoga is, yoga means union or yoking. The movement of yoga, more than anything else, is a movement of yoking ourselves to life, the ego self to the divine, the personal life to the cosmic life, the ephemeral to the eternal. And in this yoking, in this union, we now can see the way to come out of the cellar into the sunlight of God, which is always shining, even if we're sitting down in the cellar going, "Why isn't there any sunlight?" It's there. We have to move up. And that's what the mystical philosophy is really all about. For those of you who are more mathematically inclined on the spiritual path, I saw somebody come up with what I would call the outer fringes of enlightenment, with a satori, a mini insight, that says to me that she's going to be quite happy in this lifetime as well as in her cosmic future. A friend of mine, I read her horoscope from time to time. She has she has a sun squared Saturn. For those of you who are, as I say, who study that type of thing, What it means is that she came into the lifetime with an attitude that men and authority figures were bad guys, that they would try to confine her. That they try to confine her is the simplest way to put it. And therefore there's a tendency to withdraw. Innate within her emotional pattern, there's a tendency for her to pull back so she doesn't, get her shin kicked again. And she was having problems with her boyfriend at the time. And she called, and I tried to share some of the mystical ideas with her and give her a little bit of guidance. And I thought, well, gee, I hung up the phone, and if I can be honest with you, I thought, well, that was a wasted 15 minutes. I couldn't say what I wanted to say the way I felt it needed to be said, and she couldn't hear it, and oh well, try again tomorrow, right? And she called me back about a month later, and she said, I had an insight. I'd like to share it with you. I said, oh good, I can use one of those. She said, I realized that it's me, that the problem lies within me. And I'll put it in my words, but her feeling, if I can redial my mind and understand that opposite sex out there, that there's good guys. At least some of them are, and all I need is one, so all I got to find is one. And that what I need to do is, in effect, change my attitude. And she says, her feeling was that with this formula, with this new attitude of hers, that her relationship would work out. And I told her I thought it would too. But I'll tell you, whether or not it does, I think it will. Whether or not it does, it's just a matter of time until she finds somebody who wants to love and wants to open to that state of awareness. And the reason that I mentioned the story is because up until that point, she had always thought, there's the bad person out there. And what's interesting is with that attitude, sometimes we are attracted to troublesome personalities. Because life is a mirror. And that's a dangerous piece of philosophy. It's true, but it's somewhat difficult emotionally. She has trined her Saturn. She has balanced the imbalance in her on an attitudinal level. We would say on an internal level. Now it's a matter of time, and it'll precipitate into her physical earth life. The life that most people consider to be real or primary. Now, what we find in this field of spiritual healing is that we're functioning, are we not, through a physical body. Now, there's a lot of literature, some of it quite excellent, some of it a little fanciful, about out-of-the-body experiences and this type of thing. It's possible. And it's not an article of faith. It's something where, if you perform certain meditative rituals and so forth, you can find yourself, oh, I'm uglier than I thought I was. The body's sitting down there meditating or sleeping or whatever. It can be experienced firsthand. Is it that valuable? I don't know. It's not valuable in a sensational sense. It can help to reduce the fear of death. It can also help to make you a little more comfortable because you say, this isn't me, and it needs a little polishing up, but it'll do. It's a good friend. Physical body, the temporal food sheath, as we so fondly refer to it in yoga. And the body really is probably where the battle is won or lost, this battle for healing or for happiness, ultimately for enlightenment. Not because we are the body, but because the body is a mystical yantra through which we must function. It's a mystical diagram. It's a tool that shields and grounds our state of awareness so that we can practice at being balanced, so that we can practice at being happy with the training wheels on, so to speak, until we get good enough at it, and then we say, well, this playground was real nice. Now I think I'll step out and go to school, or go to another school, something like that. But the playground remains important, if you'll permit me. The physical body, you remember the story on Palm Sunday, Jesus rode the two jackasses into the city and so forth? The physical body is one of the jackasses, and the logical mind is the other. And the Christ that dwells within, the balance, the Krishna that dwells within, the balanced state of consciousness within each of us is supposed to be riding the two jackasses rather than vice versa. It's very important. Another school of thought mystically would say, you're the King Arthur within. It's really the same symbolism. And you got these 12 Knights of the Round Table, which are the different states of your awareness, one of which relates to the physical body. And for whatever reason, because we're too busy with other more important things, in quotes, or because nobody's ever taught us, or for whatever reason, that armor on that poor knight has gotten rusty indeed. And it's not so good, to joust with, much less to try to make love with or something like that. much less to attune to subtle thoughts and feelings is what I mean by that symbolism. And therefore the old suit of armor has to be, you got to get rid of the rust, it has to become flexible. How? It has to be properly oiled and lubricated. It has the diet is so important, the physical diet in terms of clean water, clean air, proper breathing, fresh fruits and vegetables, avoiding the preservatives, avoiding a lot of the meats and so on and so forth. To eat fresh fruit, food that'll go bad. That's how you know that it's real food, and then you eat it before it goes bad. I think Twinkies have a shelf life into the next millennium. That's not the optimum yogic diet. Now, for those of you who are Virgos, because yoga is always the path of balance, you know, you could eat a half a Twinkie and you won't die. You will not be struck by lightning. But it's not the way that we want to go in terms of the long haul, because it'll save on embalming fluid. That's the way I think of it. You'll be so preserved, you know. So what we're really talking about, whether I've done a good job of it or not is another question, is the law of karma. If I plant the right seeds today, tomorrow will be beautiful and fruitful indeed. And there was a TV program on not too long ago that seemed to sort of deny the free will aspect of it. The future is preordained, it's predestined. And it's not really the true law of karma. There is what they call, within the law of karma, there's this particular type called Kriya mana karma. Spiritual mind karma of this moment that we are generating together, very frankly. This is considered the Kali Yuga, the dumb age, when people aren't supposed to be too enlightened innately. And that's why when I asked Kriyananda, what's it all about in one sentence? In your opinion, he says, how to be sane in an insane world. We have this Kriya mana karma. We have the ability, with our self-awareness, independent of whether the karma says you're supposed to be happy or sad at this particular moment, wealthy or poor in this particular moment, emotional or non-emotional in this particular moment. Independent of that, you can say, and it's not a Pollyanna, it's not escapism, you can say, yeah, boy, the mind and body got their problems, don't they? But you know what? I'm going to be content. I'm going to attune to balance. I'm going to attune to noble thoughts. We have this capability within us. Because we have this capability within us, we can plant the seeds at this moment, which will soften tomorrow. It's very important. We do have free will. It may not be used a lot, but it's there, and we have the potential to use it. It makes all the difference in the world. We also have something called self-awareness, which in one sense relates to the chitta, the mind stuff within us, not just the organic brain, but the consciousness that functions through that brain and through this body. And according to yoga, as we make our bodies more fluid, more flexible is what I mean by that, healthier, lighter, filled with more prana, with more life energy, the mind becomes fluid. And that which we create by acts of kriya, by spiritual actions within us, meditative rituals, if you will, creative visualizations, breath patterns, mantric patterns, whatever it may be, will definitely have an effect. And therefore, again, you know, as Swamiji began the meditation, to send forth the blessing, the shantis, to all the happy sentient beings, like the sun is the way they say it in some of the books, that shines on saint and sinner alike, independent of anything else, simply because they are. That is their value and that is their worth to be blessed. Likewise, within us, we can bless the states of awareness within us, which some of them are probably healthy, and like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and some of them are probably a little bit anorexic, if you'll permit me. They all need to be blessed and balanced, all these states of awareness within us. And therefore, in conclusion, the mystical path really is an interning type of path. We move out into the world, we fulfill our responsibilities as best we can, do your duty, your dharma, you know, is the way they say it. Maybe we even try to handle a little more. Not only to clean up our backyard, but to say to the next guy, if he looks like he's having a hard time, could you use a hand? And only if he wants to, maybe give him a little bit of a hand. All right, so we've done that. Now it's our time. It's our time to turn in. Should happen on a daily basis, even if it's just for a moment or two. There's a ritual that a meditative healing type of ritual that can be helpful to you, and if you'd like to join me in it, what you need to do is to sit up straight in your chair or in your cross-legged posture if you're on the floor. If you're not comfortable joining in, Just watch all the funny people around you sit with their eyes closed. And what you do is straighten the spine, because the spinal column is the holy mountain that all the scriptures talk about, even the Plains Indians that have never seen a mountain external. So the stomach muscles are drawn slightly in and slightly up. The spinal column is straight. The shoulders are just a little bit back. The hands are comfortable. Some people like to use the Om Mudra, where you join the thumb and forefinger. Some people just comfortable on the lap, whatever you like. You close your eyes and you gently focus at the root of the nose between the eyebrows. And what I'd like you to do is to make a fist and tighten it up. And then just to let go with your hands. Just let your hands fly open. And let go of the tension in the mind or body. Any residual tension there might be. Try it again a second time. Make a fist and then just let go. And a third time. A fist and relax. Now what we're going to do really is to simulate a conscious movement into the sleep state, in the sense of letting go of all the worries, of all the concerns of the earth life. They'll still be there. You can pick them up at the door when you leave. Nobody's going to steal them. Just let go. Soften and extend the breath. Pull the energy out of the feet and out of the legs and into the trunk of the body. Mentally pull the energy out of the hands and arms and into the trunk of the body. In your creative imagination, center the energies in the spinal column. Lift the energies to the Ajna chakra, to the Christ point, to the Krishna point, which is at the root of the nose between the eyebrows, and imagine a sun, S-U-N, a beautiful, brilliant, life-giving sun. Perhaps the primary symbol of vitality in this sector of time and space. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw upon the power of that inward sun to bless the various states of awareness within our consciousness. We're going to rotate that sun. It's an old Chinese yoga technique, an old Taoistic technique to bring blessing and healing to the various levels of our being. So you're imagining this sun, this solar disk. And now what I'd like you to do is simply to take this sun and your awareness to the base of your spine. And simply slowly lift it. Very slowly, as if the spinal column were a hollow tube. To slowly bring this state of awareness, this solar disk, which is the giver of warmth and heat and healing energy, the giver of light, slowly to bring it up the spinal column. As it slowly moves up at your speed, at your level of comfortability. Like the internal Christ principle, like the internal Krishna principle, like the divinity that dwells deep within you, like your higher mind if you prefer. It shares its blessing with each and every cell of your body and each and every petal of your mind. And you bring it up and up to the Ajna chakra, to the single eye that the Bible speaks of. If thine eye be single, thy whole body will be full of light. And now it is at that Ajna chakra, that point at the root of the nose between the eyebrows. The whole body is full of light. And now slowly it travels over the forehead and down the back of the neck and down the spinal column again, completing its cycle. Blessing yet again. those states of awareness within us that too long have been neglected and malnourished. Bringing the healing warmth and the hope of the spring, the return, the eternal return of the cycle of the spring to those states of awareness within us that have for too long have been locked in the dungeon of darkness and negative emotionality. The light is at the base of the spine. Again, it turns upward. Again, symbolic of yet a deeper phase of spiritual blessing. The light ascends. Slowly, smoothly, rhythmically. A second time, it returns to the Ajna chakra, to the root point at the root of the nose between the eyebrows. And the second time it begins its descension. Down it comes gently from the top of the mountain, descending the spinal column, bringing its blessings to all the states of awareness that lie in the valley. And the third and final time, it turns upward to the holy mountain. To the Ajna chakra. And again it comes down the mountain for a third and final time. A gentle, blissful descension. Blessing the mind, blessing the body, blessing the subtle states of awareness beyond the mind and body. The base of the spine, and then magically it reappears at the sun center in the forehead region. And we visualize that the whole body is full of light, egg-shaped, a radiance, white and gold ribbons of light surrounding the physical body, blessing it. Imagine in your mind's eye someone that you know, someone that you care about that could use some good vibes. Mentally imagine them, picture them in your mind's eye, and offer as a gentle spiritual gift the blessing of this state of awareness that you're now experiencing. It's a gentle gift that will be there should they ever wish it, at this moment or in the eternities of time. This light, the light of your own inner mind, has a healing property to it, has a life-giving property to it. On a philosophical level, it translates as noble thoughts. And the saints and sages of old have said, let noble thoughts flow to us from all sides. Let noble thoughts flow to us from all sides. Let noble thoughts flow to us from all sides. And in this balanced state of awareness, there is a realization. The realization is that the world is hectic. It is sometimes stress-filled. But though the coming week may have its moments of emotion or its moments of difficulty, I will be a little more balanced than I was last week. I'll be a little warmer than I was last week. A little more detached than I was last week. A little more understanding than I was last week. A little more humorous than I was last week. As last week and this week, so this month and next month, so this year and next year, so this decade and next decade. And in this way of thinking, it's but the blink of an eye until the eternal, unchanging, sunlight comes. Until the internal awareness of the sunlight that never departs again fills our inner spiritual eye. Until we no longer need to seek heaven or healing, because we have become heaven, because we have become the healing presence by attuning to the spiritual consciousness, the Atma, the indwelling light within. Perhaps we could close the meditation by chanting the Om Shanti 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 mantra and sending the waves of bliss to all sentient beings, indeed to all states of awareness, whether they be seemingly external or seemingly internal. May the infinite Lord of life, laughter, and love bless and caress your life, indeed you, on each and every level of your being. May you be a light unto yourself. May you be a light unto your world. May you truly be a blessing to all with whom you come into contact. Namaste. The meditation is concluded.